Trax is sponsored by Can-Am. We're built for this. Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. And by Yamaha, conquer outdoors.
2018 was a big year for Can-Am Off-Road and their race teams, especially in the GNCC circuit, where they actually took number 1, 2, and 3 in the championship series. So we thought it'd be fun to travel out to Texas and meet up with the guy who took the first place spot, Hunter Miller, and just get an idea of who he is, what it takes to win, and how Can-Am has helped them achieve this pretty high level of competition. Hunter lives just outside of Dallas, so we headed off to a place called Tex Plex, which is just the most incredible off-road recreational park that you can imagine.
Can-Am had an amazing season. I mean, Jamie McCoy, Kyle Chaney, and myself finished in 1, 2, 3. It just goes to show you how dominant that platform is. Last year, turbos weren't allowed at GNCC, so I was in the old platform, but locally I was racing the X3. And, you know, I went from being competitive with my brother to being pretty dominant once we got into those things, you know. At GNCC, it was the same thing. I mean, the X3s were always at the front of the pack because they work so well. It doesn't take near the effort to drive that thing at the speed that it takes to run some of the other cars. In the early days of racing side-by-sides, you know, we didn't take it that serious. We were still racing quads, and we were both racing the DS450 in motocross. Cody was racing the National Series, and I was racing out west that year. And then in 2012, the race manager for Can-Am at the time asked us if we wanted to try side-by-sides. We were not about to turn that opportunity down. And so the Torn Series, which we were racing locally, added a UTV class, and it started off that first year. We had maybe 15 cars out there. And then, you know, it grew and grew as the whole UTV industry has. Eventually, we went on to the GNCC series, and that's where we've been the last 3 years. 2018 was the final season for UTVs to be at GNCC because of, you know, different insurance reasons with the series. For 2019, I'll be racing the Work Series out west, which is a similar format to GNCC. They're 1-hour races, it's off-road, but it's a little more desert terrain, obviously, being on the other side of the country. We'll see what happens as far as cross-country series coming up in 2020. Sure, you get a shot of us unloading on this sweet trailer. Well, this thing started off as a regular old 64-inch Can-Am Maverick X3 XDS. When we get them back to the shop, we get them stripped apart and take them over to S3 Power Sports. This thing's not terribly different from stock, but we definitely do some things to strengthen them up a little bit and make them survive GNCC. You know, GNCC's pretty tough conditions, really rutted and really rough. So you've got to do some things to make them go the whole hour and a half or hour race at the pace that we're running them at. You know, you want to make sure that you've got some really solid components underneath you.
It's not just a trail ride.
No, it's not a trail ride. We changed the shocks to Elka suspension, which is tuned by E Racing. The stock X3 shocks are terrific, but you know, we need stuff that's tuned a little bit different for racing. Yep. It's essentially the stock body, but you know, we drop it down quite a bit.
So all the bodywork is actually lower than the stock one?
Yep, about 6 inches lower.
Oh yeah, holy cow.
Yeah.
The vision is amazing. I can't believe how good I can see it.
Yeah, it's hands down the best on the market. I mean, there's nothing out right now that compares to the X3. Racing is a steering quickener.
Steering quickener?
Mm-hmm. And this one is 50% quicker, so instead of sawing at the wheel, you know, you just start driving it like a go-kart. It's a gear ratio right here inside this.
So this is the stock steering.
From there on, it's stock.
Really?
Yep. And
that's cool.
The only changes are right here. It's a quick, easy bolt-on part.
Wow.
Anybody can do it in, you know, 15 minutes.
Pretty much anybody can benefit from that too.
Clutching, I run the stock X3 components. We tune them a little bit differently with just, you know, weights and springs, but cheap, inexpensive parts.
GNCC season this year, you're the champion, but Can-Am has taken the top 3 positions in the overall standings. So is that a testament to the car, or is that the drivers?
I would absolutely say it's a testament to the car. I finished second overall last year. and Kyle Chaney was third. And this year we were both in X3s, and my brother Cody Miller actually won in a Yamaha last year, but we were in the old platform. And then this year we get into the X3, and you know, top 3 drivers were all in X3s. So far above and beyond everything else. I mean, from the suspension to the seating position to the center of gravity to how well it turns, I mean, everything about it is better than everything else right now.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Princess Auto, a unique world of equipment, tools, and more. Closed captioning of Dirt Trax is sponsored by MBRP Power Sports, race-inspired performance.
Before we went out to ride, we sat down with the crew at Tex Plex, Billy and Tommy, and got a little feel for how they're connected with Hunter, because he actually knows these guys and he's ridden here before and ridden here quite a bit. So it was a neat opportunity to just understand the vision for this place and really get a feel for what it means to be dedicated to providing opportunities for people to recreate off-road, which is exactly what these people are.
So I think it really spawned from our founder, Tommy Kehoe, and our owner that had the property. And I think they really kind of came together and one day said, I want to do something fun out there. What would be something really unique and really cool? And when we identified that 98% of Texas is private land and that there are no places for these guys to really go and ride, it just became a natural progression to say, let's try this. Let's see how this works. We are really, really popular for our UTV short course track. So it's a 2.1 mile race course that is basically a motocross style track that you can take a UTV and race on. Additionally, we have 3 motocross tracks, including a premier facility that we just built, state of the art, where we imported dirt, special dirt, to make the consistency right, and had a professional builder come in and fly in and do that. So it is awesome. Additionally, we have trails that you can do for both for UTV and ATVs, as well as dirt bikes. We've just expanded and added our truck trail system, so you can bring out trophy trucks, Raptors, Ford Raptors, pre-runner style trucks, and run 95 miles an hour out there.
Tex Plex is amazing. I mean, look around, you know? These guys are obviously very passionate about motorsports and off-road motorsports. Every time I come out here, I'm blown away about the improvement that they've made, you know, from the last time. And it may only be a month, but, you know, something is different every single time. But they're building paradise here.
Tex Plex has only been around for 2 years, and they are already huge with so many things to do. They're bigger than most off-road parks are that have been around for 10 years. They credit a lot of that to Can-Am. Can-Am supplies them with their support vehicles. They have Can-Am X3 rentals for people to come and rent and try, and you can come rent one and take it right out on the short course track like we did. So that relationship is really an important one, Tex Plex, but it's also become a very important one for Can-Am, and I think that relationship is really interesting, and it's something that they certainly want to develop more in the future. So while Hunter did bring his race car, the idea for this story was not for us to drive around in his race car. The idea was for him and I to drive around in a stock Maverick X3, and it's something that he hadn't done for a while because he races so much, and it's, you know, something I do all the time, but he's a professional side-by-side racer who's won championships. You don't win championships by being reckless. I trust them because you can't get to his level being dangerous, being out of control. But he doesn't know me at all.
Admittedly, I'm not much for sitting in the passenger seat. It's a control issue, I guess. Even when Cody and I are testing, you know, I have a hard time sitting over there. I can usually sit about a lap and I'm ready to get out of there. When I have to get in with somebody I don't know, I'm certainly a little nervous.
The short course track itself was everything I had ever expected a short course track to be. It was awesome. On this track, the jumps were built for side-by-sides. You could hit them full throttle no matter what, and you were always sailing level. The one berm was like 3 stories tall. It was the craziest thing. It was like being on a roller coaster. I drove my best. I drove as fast as I could drive, still maintaining some safety, and I thought I was doing really well. I thought I was ripping, and I'm like, man, he must be impressed with my driving. And then he started driving, and I was terrified. The things that he was doing with this car, the places where I was on the brakes and like slowing down to make a corner, he was full throttle into the corner. The places where I was checking up because I wanted to make sure I didn't get out of control or slide sideways, he just held the throttle to the floor. I've ridden a lot of places with a lot of people, and I've never experienced anything like this.
You know, it's been a pretty good while since I've driven a stock X3. You kind of forget how well they work just straight out of the box.
Tex Plex has obviously got all kinds of crazy things to do in your ATV side-by-side dirt bike, but they also have something that I'd never even heard of before. Live fire scenario firing range. It's hard to describe, but it basically is a computer-controlled firing range where you shoot live ammunition at a screen. There's infrared cameras on the back that record where your hits are on the screen, and it projects a video image of a scenario for you to shoot at. And there's scenarios, everything from just regular target shooting to things like office shooting scenarios and hostage scenarios, home invasions, you name it. It was so fun. It was awesome.
I've never done anything like that before. I guess typically you have to be a police officer or military to get your hands on something like that.
But if you're gonna be here riding your vehicles, make sure you set aside some time to do that because you won't regret it. I guess what really struck me was how down-to-earth and normal Hunter is, but how professional he is and how he understands that what he does is only possible because of companies like Can-Am providing vehicles like the X3 for him to be fast in, and vehicles that are durable like the X3 that he doesn't have to worry about breaking down. And it was also an eye-opener in just how fast a guy like Hunter is, his ability to drive that vehicle to the absolute limit and do that lap after lap. I mean, it was fun experiencing what a Texas off-road park's all about. They do everything bigger in Texas. Definitely one I'd like to try and repeat and do again.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Shock Strap. Start strapped, stay strapped.
It's no surprise that for many of us up north, winter's here in full swing. And during the cold winter months, undoubtedly the best way to put your ATV to work is by putting a plow on it. And that's exactly what I'm going to do today. There's a whole lot of manufacturers of snowplows in the industry. Most every brand of ATV offers a plow kit, and many of them are very good. However, I'm always looking for companies who offer something unique and deliver special features that not only get the job done, but get it done quicker, easier, and with more proficiency. Today, that company offering unrivaled simplicity and ease of install is KIMPEX. The Click-N-Go plow system is not only intuitive, but hardworking with features that you're not going to find elsewhere. Once you install your vehicle-specific low-profile mounting kit, you're ready for easy attachment and a wide range of plow widths from 50 to 72 inches. For this install, I'm going to be using something just a little bit different than your standard push frame. I'll be using the push frame, but I'm adding in an extra piece that's something you can't find from every plow manufacturer. And that little bit of difference is the plow frame or push frame extension. It mounts up to the Click-N-Go push frame and sends it quite a bit further out in front of the ATV. Why do I want this, you ask? Good question, and simply because I'm going to be putting on a set of tracks in an upcoming episode of Snow Trax, and we want the versatility of still using the plow with the track kit. Otherwise, we'd just contact the plow at any angle but straight, and that's just not acceptable. KIMPEX makes this push frame extension to work seamlessly, and it works with the Click-N-Go system, mounts up quick, and you're done. On the front of our push frame, we opted to go with the 17-inch tall by 60-inch wide steel plow, and I'm also going to install Click-N-Go compatible plow fenders. The 60-inch wide by 17-inch tall plow is made of 11-gauge steel, and it's painted a nice titanium gray color. It has a very beefy reinforced lower scrape bar and a built-in steel handle for manipulating the blade. When linked with the fenders, you can push some serious snow and finish even large driveway projects with ease. The fenders keep a lot of the snow from rolling out the ends of the plow and make cleanup simple and reduce the need for tilting the blade quite so often. But when you do need to tilt the blade, the Click-N-Go system uses a very unique articulating mechanism that's incredibly simple to use. Many plow kits will use a handle or some kind of interface that requires you to use your hands. The Click-N-Go system uses a foot-operated lever, keeping you from having to bend over or even touch the push frame at all with your hands. It doesn't get frozen up, and neither do your fingers. Now, because of the Click-N-Go multi-stage frame pivot and the push frame extension for the track kit, the plow will lift off the ground nearly 75% higher than the competition because of the dual stage pivot. This means you can plow over larger banks, manipulate the plow angle with less bending over, and also still cruise through the deep powder snow with Trax on should you want to traverse a powder field or get to another location to plow. One of the last but possibly most important features of the Click-N-Go system is linked directly to its name, and that is the ease of attachment to your vehicle. The Click-N-Go system was designed to be fast, intuitive, and easy to use. And it is. It takes mere seconds to connect and links up securely without the need to get under the vehicle to put in clevis pins or bolts. It's made to be easy and it works. Once locked up and your winch is secured, you can go to work, accomplish the task at hand, and then return the plow to a storage location out of the way and be free to play and ride without the burden of a long or multi-step process requiring tools. This plow is toolless, simple, and secure. Make sure you stay tuned to an upcoming episode of Snow Trax this season where I'm going to put a set of Can-Am Trax on our Outlander and really put the Click-N-Go 2 plow to the test.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Argo. Go anywhere.
Needs and wants. Two things people seem to get very mixed up about these days. Does anybody really need a Starbucks? Really? The thing is, there's nothing wrong with simply wanting something, but let's all just be honest about it instead of pretending it's something we need. What does this have to do with ATVs, you might ask? Well, if you think about it, everything really. But today, specifically, it has to do with Textron Off Road's new Alterra 570 XT. The question a new ATV buyer should be asking themselves before any other is, what do I need to do with my ATV? Answering that question tells you what type of ATV you should be looking at and what the base specs of said ATV should be. After you determine these two things, you can then move on to all the things that you want. The Alterra 570 XT covers all of these bases very well. At its core is Arctic Cat's tried and true 545cc electronically fuel-injected single. Yes, I said 545 cc's. The actual fact of the matter here is that the Alterra 570 is really a 550. The reasoning behind this is as unknown to me as it is to you. This engine isn't a bad performer though. I mean, it's not on par with the Can-Am or Polaris 570, that's for sure. But it's not slow and it doesn't lack bottom end. So while it may not actually be a 570, it's not disappointing either. Textron CVT transmission is a good one that works well and is durable. Again, no complaints here, but also nothing to set it apart from the old 550 or even the Alterra 500, really. Where it does begin to differ though is when you start talking about the chassis. The Alterra 570 is based on the full-size 700 chassis, not the mid-size 500 chassis, and this is a very good thing. The truth is, Textron's smaller chassis is just that, small. It's got small dimensions and small specifications, and in my mind, it's not up to the same tasks as the bigger models. The 570, on the other hand, has the same dimensions and specifications as the full-size 700. So other than a few horsepower, you're really giving up nothing else by choosing the 570. The 570 comes in 3 trim levels: a base model with steel wheels, Textron's Rapid Traction System or RTS shiftable 4x4, and no power steering. The power steering model adds, you guessed it, power steering. The XT model, like we have here, adds aluminum wheels and the upgraded EL4 electronic locking 4x4 system. Personally, I think this is a really nice looking ATV. Textron did a great job with the styling. It's comfortable too. The cockpit certainly isn't flashy, but the ride from AA arms that produce a class-leading 10 inches of wheel travel front and rear is good, on the firm side, but not at all uncomfortable. Capacities are also really good here with 1,050 pounds towing and 100 pounds front and 200 pounds rear carrying capacity from the steel racks. A 1.44 gallon water-resistant storage area under the rear rack and a nice-looking functional gauge package, front tow hooks, and a 2-inch rear hitch receiver round out the features list of the Alterra 570 XT. As a complete package, the Alterra 570 is a good ATV. It feels well-built and tough. Handling is decent, but not great, and the ride is, as mentioned, on the stiff side, but definitely not bad. As a base or EPS model, I think the 570 is well equipped. I will say this though, as an XT model, I think more goodies should be included. At the very least, it should come with a winch. This brings us back to the needs and wants discussion though. Are there flashier 570 class ATVs out there? Ones with more blingy features? Yes, absolutely. And of course, any normal person whose head sucks air will want all of that stuff. But we all need to start off by asking ourselves if we actually need it. The Alterra 570 can and will do anything an ATVer could possibly need it to do. From towing, to hauling, to recreational trail riding, the Alterra lacks nothing. But the truth is, what brings all the needs and wants into perspective is price. If it doesn't have all the extra wants, but costs the same as the others who do, it's going to be a tough sell. Luckily, the Alterra 570 is a pretty decent deal. Here at Trax, we think it's a pretty good value. Definitely on par with its competition. So if a durable, capable, comfortable 550-ish class ATV is what you're looking for, we think Textron's Alterra 570 is worth the look.
Trax Television has been sponsored by Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. Can-Am, we're built for this. And by Textron Off Road, power, performance, and precision engineering.
It only takes 2 clicks to like and subscribe to our page, where you can check out a huge variety of ATV and side-by-side videos just like the one you watched.